We know the mics are off, Lewis. It just looks cool if we sit here and talk and you guys can't hear.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if we've got something going on.
Makes you wonder if we have any clue what the hell we're doing.
Which is a big old nope.
We kind of know what we're doing. I mean, it's getting a little better, right, Don?
Yeah, last week was great. Almost 2 straight hours. It was nice. Hour 53, 54. It was nice. I think we missed Pixie last week, though.
We did. And
Yep.
Doc wasn't here either, was he?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Is he here now?
I don't think so. I don't see him.
That's some demerits right there, I'm telling you. We got to have a merit system. That's all there is to it.
Well, and Pixie, I think Pixie was missed us on Saturday night, too.
Oh, yeah.
Double demerits.
Uh-oh.
Go sit in the corner, Pixie.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you think Don sounds a little bit different tonight, he does.
I do.
He's a little froggy. He's got a cold.
I got this thing.
And he's coming in and polluting the studio with his germs, but
I could have left. Oh, Pixie said she fell asleep. Oh, no.
wow.
Oh, even pixies need their beauty rest.
Pixies do need their sleep. And I got to find something here because Jimmy Jean, a fellow TFR host, made this this video. It's also he did a soundtrack and a video. He based it. The first part is his own mixes and stuff thrown in, and it's with video as well. It's pretty cool. And then he actually used a part of the new song that I wrote as well, and I want to find it because it was really cool. And I don't know what the hell.
Well, Pixie can't watch it.
Why?
Because that's the one that makes Pixie scared.
No, that's not.
Isn't it?
No, it's. I don't think so. I don't think any. I think
Pixie's just a scaredy cat. She's a scaredy cat.
Scaredy cat. It's okay. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the Paranormal Portal. I'm Brent Thomas. Thank you for being here. This is my co-host, Don Longbeard.
Hi, getting back to business.
Getting back to business. Keeping it real as I search through my files. I got to find this because Jimmy put all the work into it. I said, dude, we're going to use that on the show. And on Wednesday, and I got to figure out where it is I put it. Oh, my God, these folders are just getting out of control.
Well, you got a lot of stuff. You've been writing a lot of music lately, and we've got that.
The video builds.
Yeah, I got all those videos built and everything, yeah. And speaking of videos, we were going over and Pixie's been waiting for this, so I'm scared of Dawn. Don't be scared of me, Pixie. I'm the last person to be scared of. So we've been working on that Bigfoot video, that investigation we did.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got the video put together. Now we need to get it narrated and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll release that to our friends on Facebook and YouTube. We'll put it on the YouTube channel.
On VidMe.
VidMe, yeah.
Vid.me.
Yeah, whatever that's called. You know that thing.
Yeah, I found one version of it, but not the full new one. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go re-rip it while we're sitting here talking. I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Do you think that? Oh God, our connection is so unstable. I don't know. I'm rolling the dice here, ladies and gentlemen. But if for any reason we should disconnect, and I don't think it'll happen. We just did a full boot, and everything's looking good. The stream is looking real strong.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I mean, let me see. Where's the OBS? Here it is. See, look at that, Don. Look at that. Green.
Yes, nice.
That is nice, yeah. We got green bandwidth indicator here on the broadcasting studio, so we're looking good. So I got to find this, though, because Jimmy put all that time and effort into it, and it's really pretty phenomenal. I just got to get it.
Well, let me see if I can... Because I should be able to pull it up pretty quick here, too. Let's see.
Yeah, but yeah.
And then I can just connect you to it.
You can connect me to it.
Well, I can, send you the link.
No, I know. I'm sorry.
It's right here.
You got it?
Yeah.
Did you already rip it?
No, I haven't ripped it, but here's that video.
Yeah, just send me that link and I'll rip it down quick. Sorry, Jimmy. I had fully intended on going right into it with the show, but I don't know what the hell I did with it. I guess that's of all the problems they have, that's a pretty good one for us.
It actually looks like I know what I'm doing. There you go. Try that. It's at your Brent Thomas, of course.
It is.
Yep.
Oh,
There it is, right there.
okay. Well,
Dun,
hold
dun,
on.
dun, 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 dun.
Okay, but I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be played. Yeah, I don't want it to be played. Oh Christ!
Well, you're gonna have to.
Wait. What's going on? Okay, it's not automatically playing. Oh no, it is. Hold on. All right. Now, this should be it. Let me pull this down again. Copy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching production on
Production on the fly.
on the fly.
And
This is how we
don't
do.
lose it.
This is how we do things on this on the portal.
Seat of our pants, you know.
Yeah,
skin of our
exactly.
teeth. On the fly.
So I'm throwing it. What the hell? Oh, good lord. Let me see.
Wow.
I what do I do here?
Mr. Ken, how are ya?
Oh no, that's not what I want. Oh yeah, I know.
Don't jinx it. Uh-oh, I missed something. Bigfoot, Wizard from Lord of the Rings. Who, me? What do I? What? Who looks like a wizard? Lewis, you're crazy.
You're a wizard. He's the wizard of runny noses, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
It's true.
Does that count? Does my runny nose count as exercise? Somebody told me as long as I was running to, to the bathroom every 5 minutes to get tissue, I'll be fine. It's exercise. I don't think that counts.
Why is it doing this? What a pain in the...
Hey, Brento Dono. Hey, that's Mr. Ken.
This is not working, dude. It's asking me to... That link is asking me... I don't know. I don't understand what the hell's going on. Oy, do you have a YouTube version of that, Don? Because I know I can pull it from there without problem.
There was a YouTube version.
There he is. I got to find it. Here, I got to go into... Never mind. I'm going to find it here. I'll get it, brother. Just hold on. Keep talking, though. Keep the staff or the audience.
I'm going to pull up the words to a song.
Here it is. There's the YouTube version that won't. Oh, this video is unavailable. Oh, it's been pulled.
I wonder why it was pulled.
I don't know. Jimmy Jean must have pulled it. All right, he has a better version. I'm sorry, Jimmy.
Well, you know what? We're going to have to wait.
Okay, I don't know where it went. I had a version of it, but I know he was still working on the final fade, perhaps. So maybe that's what's going on. So I guess we won't unveil it today, ladies and gentlemen. But thank you, Jimmy, again. It's a marvelous video. It's amazing stuff, and it's got layers and layers, and the layers have layers, and the layers have rumors of other layers. It's really crazy, but just really deep and impressive. So I guess we'll get to it a different time. My apologies. But anyway, tonight we're going to be going through several stories. And again, on Saturday's show, generally what the Wednesday shows is like cleanup for whatever we didn't get to on the last Saturday show. So that's what we're going to do tonight, is just go through some more stories about alien encounters. So this is actually encountering aliens. This isn't I saw a weird light in the sky and it moved in a weird pattern. You know, those could very well be UFOs. Well, they are UFOs. They're unidentified flying objects, but they're ambiguous, to say the best.
Yeah, the best, exactly.
Yeah. In most cases, not all of them. Like the one I saw was not at all ambiguous. But anyway, this isn't a show about me. Let's have a me party. Woo! But this is the actual encounters that people have. So let's get into those, and we'll see where the heck this night goes. Oh, before we do that, though, Sarah actually sent me a story that was really bizarre. And she sent several links to other sites that are reporting the same story. So apparently this isn't just a one-off creative authoring, that it's a story that's out there. It's, quote unquote, there's no way to substantiate it, but it's at least reported in several different places. So there might be something to it. And this story is, it's from mysteriousuniverse.org. At least the first link she sent me was. It's reported on other sites as well. But it's hospital left baffled after patient teleports into ceiling. And so this could definitely qualify as a extraterrestrial encounter, or just really cool abilities. Ooh, before they're a Bigfoot, they're a wild man. That looks cool. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Staff at the Stellenbosch Hospital in Cape Town, South Africa, have been rattled by an unexplained mystery seemingly torn right out of the pages of an X-Files script.
Nice.
It began earlier this month when a 61-year-old man was admitted to a separate hospital, the Parl hospital, for an undisclosed abdominal surgery. After the operation, the man was moved to the Stellenbosch hospital for recovery. A nurse checked on the man on October 5th and then left the room to fetch clean linens, and that's when things got weird. When the nurse returned, the man was gone. It was as if he had spontaneously disappeared from his hospital bed. Hospital staff and members of the South African Police Services, SAPS, conducted a search of the entire facility and surrounding area, but no trace of the vanished patient could be found. 13 days later, the man's body was found inside the ceiling of the hospital in what's been described as an isolated area. Hospital staff and police have no idea how he could have gotten there, particularly in this post-operative state. Now, they did say they found his body, so it sounds like he didn't make it. Western Cape Provincial Health Department spokesman Mark Vander Heaver issued a rather terse statement, which basically boils down to the fact that nobody has any earthly idea what happened here. And the statement is, prior to his disappearance, a nurse was attending to him. When she went to get clean linen, the patient disappeared. Sadly, the patient's body was discovered 13 days later in an isolated area in the ceiling, which is difficult to reach. There is currently construction work being carried out at the hospital, which also contributed to the difficulty of the search. The circumstances relating to how the patient got access to the ceiling are currently being investigated.
Yeah.
That means they just don't know. This one sounds a little too fishy if you ask me. Well, this is what the person's writing in the story. While many of the stories we cover here make major headlines and circulate the entire blogosphere, it's the small, under-the-radar stories where you really find the higher strangeness. Could this man have somehow teleported into the ceiling? Or could some sort of run-of-the-mill man-made foul play be afoot? There have been a few cases of seemingly spontaneous teleportation documented throughout history, and there's actually a link to that. I should look.
Right-click that sucker.
Yeah, I will, throughout history. But as usual, concrete evidence is scarce. Until further evidence in this case is disclosed, it remains a mystery, a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird. I'm right-clicking this. Oh, and it brings up a link that says, truly mysterious cases of spontaneous human teleportation. They should almost have been saved for a regular show. These are pretty good.
No kidding.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder how long this is. Let me just scroll and have a peek.
Well, that one's pretty long.
It is. But
well, that might be broke up stories put
it
into
is.
one story. So
it
yeah.
is with a lot of narrative.
Yeah.
We can go through this, I guess. I didn't intend on using this link, but it's a darn good link.
Well, and that story that Sarah sent to us was just uploaded October 25th of 2017, so just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then this one you're looking at right now is...
wow, good eye, Don.
Yeah. Well, you know. And then this one here that you just went to when you right-clicked is January something of 17, so January 19th.
2017.
So, yeah, these are new stories, or at least new, updated information.
Don's got the eyes, I'm telling you. The man picks up the minuscule grains and creates logic out of them. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
He creates logic out of seemingly illogical material. So, well played, sir. I appreciate that. On a photo, what am I tagged in here? What is this I'm tagged in, I wonder? Oh, okay. You have to watch or tune into Fearless on TFRlive.com, Saturday 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Frank Castle and Paula Milo. Great people. I was on their show just recently and had a really nice time.
That was a great show.
Yeah, and they're going to have special guest, Nicholas Zervos. And Nick is a pretty amazing artist as well. So, and he's contributed material to our show. So that'll be a wonderful show. So definitely make sure you get it. You tune in and don't miss it. And
or else.
So check on Frank Castle's Facebook page for more information. He's got quite a lengthy narrative built there. But check out all the TFR shows, actually. There's a lot of amazing things going on the network now. And I know Chris has really been busting himself in half working on the network and getting the load times really slick. And he's done some amazing things lately. So definitely check it out. And if you're not already a member, become one.
Become one.
Become one, ladies and gentlemen, because
you can get more of us. And we know everybody wants more of us. It's like that song, the Blue Oyster Cult song, where you need more cowbell.
Oh, yeah. Don't fear the Reaper.
Yeah, don't fear. Tink, tink, tink. We need more Paranormal Portal.
I got an illness, and the prescription is more cowbell. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're here all night. That was a great shtick. Wasn't that Will Ferrell?
It was, yeah.
He's just...
You know what the song needs?
He's just rocking the cowbell.
He is.
He was just...
I'm surprised that thing just wasn't bent up when he was done.
I'm sure it was beat
His little mallet was broken.
So, yeah.
24-hour... No, not 24-hour portal. No.
24-hour portal. There we go.
No, Pixie's really pushing on that.
This is from someone who overslept our last shows, but now she's going to keep us working 24 hours? What's up with that?
Oh, I tell you what, we'll take donations. And if it gets to enough, we might consider a 24-hour one.
Yeah, if the PayPal reaches $1,000, we can definitely do a 24-hour portal.
That's 1,000, really? Just that's it?
I just thought we'd start with something attainable.
Okay, so attainable is $1,000 for a 6-hour portal.
Ooh, all right.
And it's 6 hours for every 1,000 after that.
Ooh, done.
So that's $4,000 for a 24-hour. $4,000.
Don's the new portal business manager, so he's just volunteered himself for that post.
And now I'm taking it all back because I'm sick.
Oh, exactly.
I'm delirious. You can't take me at my word.
You can't. It's just fine. But no, I think that'd be cool if we could figure out how to balance it, how to do the portal, and how to make it work for that long of a period of time, or
Well, we could show the evidence reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And we can re-show the...
That'd take up about 45 minutes.
And then we could re-show the live streams that we've done.
Yeah.
And those take about an hour and a half on each of those.
We'll just rebroadcast our old stuff. It's like inviting people over for dinner and whipping out leftovers.
I do that all the time. Except I have good leftovers.
Ooh. I see what you did there, sir.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into another article here, and this one's really pretty long, so it's going to take a while. But since Donna's nursing,
why don't you send me that link, and I'll take over at some point if you want.
This link?
Yeah, I can read some of that.
Yeah, but your voice sounds like you've been chewing on gravel.
Well, thanks.
Are you sure? I mean, it works.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. No, I can.
It works for you. Don't get me wrong.
Send me that, and I'll go ahead and just throw it off over to me when you go, hey, you know what, I've been talking too much.
All right. Well, it's all right. Let me see if I can do that for you. I appreciate you willing to take some for the team.
Always.
That's always an awesome thing. Let me see. Where's your deal? Here's your deal. Okay. I am now sending you the link.
All right.
And you can read along, Don. It's good for reading comprehension practice.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just abuse.
It's all right. They say you only pick on those you love, so I love you.
Yeah, okay.
That's what they say.
All right, well, I'm good to go. Just let me know if you want me to take over, all right?
I haven't even started reading it. You're already chomping at the bit. I mean, if you want to start it off, go ahead.
You're the one that was eating the microphone on the way into the show.
It looks so much like a big brown Twinkie. It's got the consistency of a Twinkie. I'm hungry.
Yucky.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We don't eat microphones around here. So, truly mysterious cases of spontaneous human teleportation. This is kind of an unintended direction for the show tonight, but I like it. I like it. We've also got alien encounter stories that we're going to cover as well. So we're going to keep you entertained for the whole 2 hours or however long we end up getting.
How lucky we get, yeah.
Yeah, we're rolling the dice here. So last Saturday's show was plenty haunted with all kinds of electrical disturbances, and our mixing board was haunted, and
lights were flickering.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't see it. Of course, the cameras weren't on then. But it was it was really a bizarre night here in the Portal studio. And I woke up the next day and actually some decorations were turned upside down on my walls. So it was pretty amazing. I actually texted you, Don, the photos of that.
Yeah, I saw them.
Yep.
And I was watching that stupid thing too. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I was watching it.
Yep. But now we know you were watching it so you could validate.
Validate it.
Yep. I woke up and I as funny as I was coming up the stairs, I was like, something's different. And I turned the corner and I sat down and just started dorking around and I look up and it's like, oh,
That's what the problem is.
that shield and swords is upside down now. So anyway, it sounds impressive. It's just a cheap Halloween decoration, but I thought it was cool. So what do you do? So anyway, let's get into the story, and hopefully we avoid any paranormal activity here on tonight's show, and we just bring you a good show. Although, as I've been getting feedback, you guys tend to find it pretty funny when that stuff happens. So I get these messages like, "Oh, you guys were cracking me up."
Sometimes we never fail.
Sometimes the show actually goes like it's supposed to, ladies and gentlemen. It does happen, and so we're hoping that will be tonight, because I'm here to tell you, talking into a microphone with static in one ear and your own voice tinnily in the other ear is really, really hard to focus. It was really incredibly hard, but we showed the professional metal that we're made out of, or mental that we're made out of, whatever it is. So.
Pixie says, yeah, Brent's Poltergeist wears perfume samples from 17 magazine.
Actually, that's not, Pixie, as funny as that is, and believe me, I'm laughing on the inside. I really am. But I'm here to tell you that generally I wake up at about 2:30 or 3 every morning. And I use the facilities just because that's the way my body works. So when I get up, I have to go from my bedroom through the living room, through the kitchen, and into the bathroom. And every night, not every night, but most every night, behind my couch, which is a path I have to walk, I'll catch this old-time perfumey smell of like a old, like flowery lilac smell in just this very isolated area. And so, as funny as what you said, my ghost apparently does wear perfume. So, just for the record. And loves to disrupt my my broadcasts. So, one very bizarre facet of the world of the weird is reports of people who have seemingly had the ability to teleport. In the blink of an eye, they seemingly instantaneously go from one place to another, traveling past the bounds of space and time as we know it through means beyond our understanding. Sometimes on purpose, and sometimes just as surprised as those around them. This sounds like the show. Sounds like any one of our shows. But what do we make of such fantastic tales and the possibilities they represent? Are there forces at work in this reality that allow for a person to shift between disparate locations? Can it be harnessed or controlled somehow? Or is this just a hiccup in reality that happens without rhyme or reason? I have covered this topic of teleportation here at Mysterious Universe before. This is coming from mysteriousuniverse.org, by the way. I should give credit where credit is due. But it is an area rich with cases, more of which I will present here. It is a realm full of bizarre cases and amazing possibilities. One very bizarre early account of teleportation revolves around a young 13-year-old girl known as Lucy J. In 1865, Lucy had already exhibited some strange powers indeed. She had once fallen ill and supposedly used her skills as a powerful medium to scrawl out her own treatment through a process known as automatic writing, wherein a person's hand is allegedly controlled by outside forces and made to write things down. The treatment and diet suggested by whatever forces were gripping her pen turned out to be absolutely correct, and Lucy was cured. Although she did continue to suffer to some extent with a glandular disorder, apparently the medicines she needed would suddenly appear in her mouth without any rational explanation to keep her healthy. Wow, that's got to save you some cash
And time.
I need an apport.
No doubt.
I need a cheeseburger. Another power Lucy supposedly had was to materialize a myriad of flowery, perfumey scents from out of nowhere. She was also known to keep about her various aromatic essences and flowers in vases, but could apparently invoke these scents and aromas whenever she wished. On several occasions, presented with a blank handkerchief, only to mysteriously imbue it with flowery scents seemingly at will. Indeed, Lucy was often described as walking about within a sphere of perfume, which she could apparently turn off and on whenever she liked. She also seemed to be able to conjure up actual flowers out of nowhere. Wow, Lucy was pretty gifted.
Wow.
Lucy also had a rather disconcerting habit of making objects spontaneously disappear without a trace, or to conversely have them appear out of nowhere. On one account given by a researcher named John S. Ladd, he claimed that he had gone to visit Lucy in a sitting room when flowers and a cherry were reported as suddenly falling into his lap from the ceiling. During this visit, there were also luminous hands observed that rapped on the table, moved objects around, removed things from closed boxes, and even grabbed Ladd's hand. He would later describe the scene thus. While I am making the examination, Lucy is standing near at my left, and as I turn from the window, I observe a luminous appearance as of a hand for a moment behind her. At first, I think it is an illusion, but immediately the phenomenon is repeating, and spectral hands are momentarily darting from behind her. I do not speak of what I am observing, but say, "Sit down here for a moment, Lucy," placing a chair for her at the end of the dining room table, standing against a wall, while I occupy a seat at the front. Sorry, I'm a little froggy myself. Mrs. N has just lighted her lamps. One stands on the mantel just behind Lucy, another inside the glass door opening into a shop and throwing a strong light upon the table. I am scarcely seated when the folds of the damask, D-A-M-A-S-K, cover upon the table are agitated, and my hand is grasped from beneath the table by a large hand enfolded in the cover. I extend my hand. It is touched again and again by smaller fingers, which elude my grasp. The cherry, which a moment before lay on the table, is removed and put into my hand. Scarcely have I replaced it onto the table when a fancy toy cake is projected from under the table. They must have taken that from my cake box in the shop, says Mrs. N, who, with Miss E, is sitting at a short distance from the table. Witnessing the proceedings. Let us see, I remark, and I follow Mrs. N into the shop. On a shelf there's a large tin box closely covered, containing fancy cakes of the same description. Resuming our seats, a large number of the cakes are put into my hand, which I place on the table. During this time, Lucy's hands are fully in view. She is delighted with the novelty. None besides ourselves are within reach of the table. In the meantime, the hand, as yet invisible at first, vagrant, cold, and clammy, becomes firm and warm, and is repeatedly placed in mine, but melts away as I grasp it.
Huh.
That's interesting. Perhaps Lucy that's the end of the excerpt from the researcher. And it continues, perhaps Lucy's most impressive power was teleportation. On many occasions, she was seen to simply blink out of existence, only to return later just as abruptly, often carrying objects such as flowers, branches, or plants from faraway places. Among other things, she would claim that while she was away, those in these far-flung places were unable to actually see her, although she was fully aware of everything around her and could mostly interact with her environment. Little was known about how she did it, other than it seemed to involve unseen intelligences. Ladd would describe what he called these aerial excursions thus. His explanations are really long-winded. Her reappearance was instantaneous. In the twinkling of an eye, she stood before you, fresh and blooming, and without any indications of exhaustion, although her absence may have been from the morning into the evening, and sometimes during heavy showers, usually in summer. She reappeared with her arms filled with flowers or fruit, and at other seasons with bouquets of rare flowers, which she said the intelligences had placed in her hand. On these excursions she appeared to have fully retained her consciousness and powers of observation, and expressed her surprise why she was not noticed, while she, in the full exercise of her senses, saw and heard what was occurring in the places and among the people to which she was carried. even to noticing the striking of the hour and reading the figures on the dial of the clock of a distant city, or witnessing of an afternoon of a dramatic performance in the theater into which she had been floated, as she described it, and given a prominent seat, and had a program put into her hands by the intelligences, who accompanied her. Such playbills she always retained. I have examined them on her return.
Wow.
That's really weird. In one odd case in this teleportation, in July 1865, Lucy spontaneously appeared at a lecture at the City Hall in Charlestown. When asked by the startled people around her how she had so miraculously arrived, she calmly explained that she had come down through the roof. She would later describe how she had been whisked away and carried into the air over trees and houses, which she could clearly see flying and blurring below her. She then claimed she was transported to the Cambridge Cemetery, adjoining Mount Auburn, where she had met her dead grandmother, and been given an oak branch which she still carried with her when she mysteriously appeared. She also claimed to have met a mysterious girl who, through her description, seemed to be the deceased daughter of one of the attendees of the lecture. Mrs. N. It was all very bizarre, and Ladd would say on the matter of these odd teleportations, she seemed to wonder at the novelty of her adventures, and notwithstanding she was timid and sensitive beyond most persons of her age, and could hardly be induced to visit strange places or persons without an attendant, such was her confidence in her invisible friends. She uniformly said that she felt no fear in these excursions, although exposed in situations, as subsequent relations may show, which might well appall the most intrepid. Wow. You gotta love that old language, though. It's just so proper. And today's language, of course, is not as proper. Okay, another curious case of what undoubtedly seems to be human teleportation occurred in the evening of March 16th, 1878. Seems like a lot was happening in the 1800s, huh?
No doubt. Well, seances and things like that were very popular in the late 17.
There was a big occult resurgence in the 17 and 1800s. I mean, there was a real resurgence of all these ideas and stuff. So then it kind of got buried again through the turn of the century into the 1900s.
Yep.
And here we come again. And I think there's, again, a resurgence of this, this arcane knowledge, for understanding forces which, are clearly manifesting around us. In my opinion, I mean, I believe we are swimming in a sea of spirits, and we are, of course, an integral part of that, but we just isolate ourselves to our three senses and just look down this tunnel. So, where was I? Another curious case of what undoubtedly seems to be a human teleportation occurred in the evening of March 16th, 1878. On this night, a seance was being held at a residence in 21 Green Street, Grosvenor?
Grosvenor? Sure.
Grosvenor Square. Is that Wisconsin or W1?
It's W1 in London.
Oh, in London, England. Okay. Gathered about at this particular seance were two rather well-known mediums, Arthur Coleman and J.W. Fletcher, as well as four others. Included William Eglinton, W.H. Harrison, and Mr. Coleman. The doors were all purportedly firmly closed and locked throughout the session, leaving the room cloaked in a dim haze of quiet darkness, which was not broken throughout. At one point during the proceedings, Harrison called out to the spirits to take someone up through the ceiling as proof of their power. And although it was somewhat in jest, at this point, Eglinton was found to no longer be amongst them. The whole group had been holding hands, and the ones holding those of the missing man let out a sudden gasp of sheer astonishment when he seemed to just fade away into nothing. Immediately afterwards, a loud thump was heard directly upstairs. Poor guy. I don't think they dropped him lightly. It did not take long for someone to turn on the lights and discover that Eglinton was no longer there in the room, and the inexplicable bump from upstairs weighed heavily on everyone's mind. The door to the room was unlocked, and when the upper floors of the residence were searched, Mr. Eglinton was reportedly found sprawled across the floor.
Dumped unceremoniously.
In what was described as some sort of deep trance with his arms still extending as if holding hands of those beside him. He would wake up a few minutes later complaining about how the back of his head hurt, as if he had been struck from behind.
So they had to knock him out first.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't believe it. You guys knocked me out and drugged me up here.
It was just a scam. Spirit mediums and seances seem to have the habit of attracting stories of human teleportation, as a similarly bizarre case concerns an Italian aristocrat and avid early 20th century spirit medium, Marquis Carlo Centurione Scotto. I don't know, Scotto. I'm probably abusing the hell out of that, but I'm doing the best I can. Who claimed he had come into his power to communicate with spirits in the aftermath of the death of his eldest son, Vittorio, in 1926. Oh, that's a horrible way to find it. Scotto was said to often exercise his powers to communicate with the dead, perhaps in his obsessive quest to reach his dead son, and one such seance on July 29th, 1928, found him in a darkened room of the Mellissimo Castle in northwestern Italy. The seance was attended by the famous psychic researcher and professor Ernesto Bozano, as well as 9 others who sat huddled around in the dark and surrounded by ancient walls trying to talk to ghosts. This is long. You want to take over there?
Sure, yeah, I can do that.
Go ahead.
It says, during the proceeding, the group was met with various unexplained phenomena, such as a sudden blast of icy air, a heavy table which allegedly moved about on its own, and an assortment of inexplicable thumps, thuds, and bangs that seemed to come from all around. Others around Scotto reported that they had thought they had heard him move from his chair, but when they called out to him, he reassured them that he was still there. Then, out of nowhere, Scotto blurted out that he could not feel his legs, after which the room fell into a deathly silence. Calls to the man went unanswered, and attempts to reach out and touch him in the murky, impenetrable dark room also met with nothing. It was then that Professor Bazzano explained that he had probably, this says, usported. We know it as upports or upported. Sported from the room. When the lights were turned on, Scotto was nowhere to be seen, which was odd considering that the door had been closed and locked the whole time, and no one had heard it open or seen a sliver of light that would have surely pierced in had it been open. The group proceeded to spend the next 2.5 hours meticulously searching the entire castle, checking every room, cellar, stable, as well as the surrounding grounds, yet no sign of the missing man could be found. Despite desperate for answers, a woman in the group named Miss Hack reached out to the spirits for help and was told that Scotto could be found in an outbuilding in a place that they overlooked. This new information from the other side spurned a renewed search of the premises, and sure enough, when the stables were checked against a tiny door that had not been seen before, behind which snoring could be heard. Oddly, the door was locked from the outside, and the key was still in the keyhole. When the door was opened, Scotto was reportedly found fast asleep upon a pile of hay. When he awoke, he was heavily confused, dazed, and disoriented, to the point that he supposedly broke down in tears in shock. The strange spontaneous teleportation of Marquis Carlo Centurione Scotto was witnessed by many well-educated adults and remains unexplained. And then another medium known for his purported power to teleport was Carlo Mirabelli from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Mirabelli was rather well known for his being able to perform a wide variety of seemingly supernatural feats, such as levitation, telekinesis, but the most impressive was perhaps his spontaneous teleportation. In 1926, Mirabelli was about to board a train to head from Sao Paulo to the port of Santos with some friends when one of his companions claimed that he walked towards the platform and simply began to vanish into thin air, fading in a foggy haze as if he were being slowly erased from existence, all in the middle of the day in front of dozens of witnesses.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Are you okay?
Mirabelli's friends were understandably both shocked and worried by the sudden spontaneous vanishing. But things would get stranger when the station master came to them 15 minutes later saying that they had a call from Mirabelli himself. When the worried friend spoke to him on the phone, he claimed that he had suddenly appeared in the town of São Vicente, which lies 56 miles away near the train's destination of Santos. He claimed that when he materialized there and gotten his bearings, he had realized that only 2 minutes had gone by, meaning that he had been practically instantaneously transported there. He had then tried to figure out what was going on, where he was, and he tried to find a phone before calling them. Although it all happened suddenly and against his will, he reported he felt no particular disorientation or deep sense of confusion upon teleporting, but a rather strong curiosity as to how it occurred. In the 1940s, there was a curious account written of by a psychiatrist allegedly stationed at Fort Leavenworth Prison by the name of Donald Powell Wilson, who wrote of some of his more interesting and stranger experiences there in 1951 in his 1951 book, My Six Convicts. One of the accounts is particularly odd as it involves an inmate who seems to have the power far beyond our current understanding. The prisoner in question was a man simply called Haddad, who was supposedly originally from Singalese descent. Singalese, is that right?
I don't know.
No.
I'm not reading with you.
Oh, I see. Oh, Don, you can read along. Oh.
No, I didn't say you could read along. I said you could take over.
Who supposedly, he was originally of Singalese, from Singly descent, who made various bold claims, such as he had been educated in Harvard and Carthage universities, that he was a Chaldean astrologer with direct lineage reaching back to 400 BC. And he also happened to claim to be a Haitian zombie priest. Indeed, it was said that the other inmates were quite afraid of Haddad, claiming that he engaged in voodoo rituals and devil worshipping, rumors which the mysterious man did little to discourage as they kept people away from him. Gosh. His real origins and history were unknown and mysterious, and no one really knew much about him at all, other than he had a part of a gang in the southwest United States and was in for murder. He was a part of a gang in the southwestern United States.
Oh,
and
Senegal.
Was in for murder. Senegal. Yes,
Senegalese. Yeah.
Senegalese, yes.
Yep. Okay, sorry. I just found where you were.
Oh, that's fine. Catch up, mister.
Yeah, that's the story of my life, Don. Catch up.
All right. So Haddad was claimed to have been through 3 separate penitentiaries and to have a wide variety of strange powers, which could possibly constitute their own article, which, depending on who you ask, were due either to his voodoo magic or simple sleight of hand and trickery. He was said to be able to hypnotically influence others using this power to do things as varied as merely getting extra bread from the guards to having them hand over their belts so that he might attempt commit suicide with them, all objects which the guards themselves would later have no recollection of giving to him. This hypnotism could also be used to apparently make people forget things they had seen or heard, or to induce a trance-like state. Other various abilities he was said to possess were telepathy, healing, and the power to control the seizures of epileptics from a distance, a power which he once demonstrated on a skeptical prison official as proof of what he was capable of. One report on record from before when Haddad was arrested even suggested that he had the power to deflect bullets. When it was written that police had completely peppered his car with bullets, yet he remained completely unscathed. Later cryptically explaining, I found it expedient to deflect the bullets from the anatomical headquarters of my spirit. Wow.
Where's the anatomical headquarters of spirit, I'm wondering?
Well, that's a good question. The spine? I've heard it's at the base of the spine.
The heart is what I've heard. I've heard the brain. I've heard the heart. I'm just not sure where the spirit lives in here.
Yeah, somewhere. A more omnious ability that was Haddad's power to actually seemingly come back from the dead, or at least put himself into some sort of catatonic state that perfectly mimicked physical death. Once he was found hung in his cell by a belt of the guard who could not remember having given it to him, and he was declared dead. Haddad's body was brought to the morgue, confirmed to be dead once more, and preparations were made for an autopsy. The following day, Haddad's body was still splayed out on the gurney and just seemingly as dead as ever. As a visit to a neurologist and
as a visiting
neurologist and the prison doctor prepared to cut into his skull to take a look at his brain, Haddad reportedly twitched, slowly sat up as if propelled by an invisible gear, and calmly said, "Gentlemen, I'd rather not if you don't mind," before asking for a glass of water. Later he said that he had been totally aware of everything going on around him the entire time. Wilson would write of the bizarre incident. The neurologist tried to hide his shock, but he choked on a nervous cough. Gordon sucked in a startled breath and swore sharply. I began to breathe again at the sound of Gordon's voice. There was not a man around the table who had not had some experience, either in his practice or medical school, with catatonic trances, and who did not have some knowledge of Haddad's corporeal heterodoxy.
Good job.
Yeah. Nevertheless, in spite of our scientific smugness, none of us were prepared for what had just happened. We had all thought Haddad was respectably dead.
Wow. He was disrespectfully dead.
Is that what it said?
No.
Yeah, he was disrespectful.
Yeah. Do you want me to continue?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Haddad would achieve his death-like state on another occasion as well, in full view of medical professionals, in order to prove that the first time was no fluke. At this time, he once again went into the catatonic trance-like state that was deep enough to emulate clinical death in every respect, to the point that even the puncturing the skin produced little blood. For good measure, and projecting an added layer of the weird over the whole situation, to prove that he was in total control of the process, Haddad had claimed that while he was under, he would produce welts in the shape of zodiac symbols on his body. That's how the demons do it. I understand now. Which he did, Wilson wrote of this event. This was no ordinary trance or simple suspended animation. It was beyond the usual psychotic catatonia or catalepsy. This was the second time Haddad had retained both consciousness and memory while in the trance, and had terminated it at will. It was not a statistical accident. All of those purported powers made both the other prisoners and prison guards more than a little nervous, and many felt that Haddad was a bad omen. Yeah.
You think?
Well, getting back to that, I wonder if, there's the idea in possession of what's called a perfect possession. Have you ever heard of that, Don?
No, I have not.
Okay, so what that is it's when a possessing spirit enters the person, but it reaches such strength and state that it's like an agreeable union. Like there's no difference between the occupying spirit and the original person's spirit, that they just become intertwined in like of one will, and whether maybe it's like perfectly taken over is maybe a better explanation on that, but that's called perfect possession. And so maybe he's able to do those things because he experienced perfect possession, and he's probably not as much human as he is something else. But I don't know, I wasn't there. Just a thought.
Interesting.
Yet even more unsettling for the authorities were his alleged abilities to teleport and seemingly phase through solid physical objects. He was said to be able to leave his cell at will, often seen walking around the halls by startled guards, but apparently always returning to his cell of his own volition. He did not seem to be interested in eluding capture or escaping off to freedom at all. He was likewise supposedly able to instantly escape from any handcuffs, straitjackets, or other methods of restraint, a feat which no one could quite figure out how he pulled off. Whenever he was restrained in such a way, it seemed to be Haddad's apparent lack of any real interest in escaping, and his genuine desire to put everyone at ease, that kept him bound more than anything else. And handcuffs and straitjackets seemed to be a formality more than anything with him, as it seemed he could remove them at any time if he so wished. Wow, this guy's pretty bizarre. Some of the paddy wagons that had assisted in transferring Haddad from place to place had similar stories. They said that when they had arrived at their destination, they looked into the fully locked and secured wagon to find Haddad nowhere to be seen. This would send the police into an utter panic, but just as they were gearing up for a manhunt, Haddad would saunter up to the prison front door and calmly ask to be let in. Again, showing no desire to really escape, although the stunts cost him 15 days in solitary confinement each time.
Who cares?
Yeah, well, apparently that didn't really matter either, so... On one such occasion, when asked why he decided to vanish himself from a paddy wagon only to return right back to the prison, Haddad reportedly said in his own defense, "It has been some time since I have been to a concert, and I felt that it would be such a shame not to go. After all, I am just a short distance from the city, but, sir, I came back, as I always do. I have no intention of avoiding my sentence. Whom did I harm in doing this? No one even knew I was gone." Wow.
Alrighty.
Wilson would move from room to room. Wilson would move on from Leavenworth, and this is where we lose the story of Haddad. Although he claimed to still be a prisoner at Leavenworth when Wilson left, it was not clear what ultimately became of him. Also unclear is how he managed to pull off his many incredible feats, teleportation included. Was there something to this? Or was it all trickery, mind games, and escape artistry? Indeed, was Haddad ever even real at all? Or is this a partially or fully fictionalized account? We may never know. Our next bizarre case brings us to Manila in the Philippines. In 1951, a sixth grader at Zamora Elementary School, 13-year-old Cornelio Closa, experienced a rather strange series of events. It began when he was walking home from school one day with a friend and suddenly encountered what he described as a beautiful young girl around his age, who had on a flowing white dress, and long blonde hair down to her waist, and was standing there barefoot, before moving beside the frightened boy, by apparently floating over to the ground rather than actually walking. He claimed that she spoke to him quite clearly, but did not move her lips. When she did so, and that when she touched his hand, he felt light and unaware of what was going on around him. Although his friend could not see the entity, he did claim that Cornelio suddenly vanished into thin air right in front of his eyes, only to be found at home later. Oh, there's an actual Manila's disappearing boy, Cornelio Closa. Huh. The oddness would only escalate from there. The mysterious blonde-haired girl began to make herself known to Cornelio on a regular basis. And whenever she appeared, weirdness was sure to follow. Some of it was even quite sinister. He would become uncharacteristically unruly at school, picking fights with boys much bigger than he and yet managing to win with what seemed to be superhuman strength. One time when he was admonished by his father for coming home late, Cornelio apparently growled at him as if nothing more than a savage beast. He would also spend much time ignoring his studies and sulking in a corner, refusing any food that was offered to him. At school, he was known to disturb both teachers and classmates with sudden eruptions into maniacal laughter that seemed to be in a voice not his own. That's a bad sign. This was done around the time that Cornelio started teleporting as he had done in front of his friend when he had first met the girl. In one early instance, his mother noticed that he looked sickly and flushed, before suddenly and spectacularly disappearing in full sight. This became such a common occurrence that Cornelio's father had all the doors and windows nailed shut. Yet still the boy managed to teleport away from and back to the house, disappearing and reappearing out of thin air at a moment's notice. The same thing happened at school, starting with an instance in which Cornelio's teacher called him to the front of the class, where he proceeded to completely vanish in front of everyone. He began to suddenly disappear from classrooms on a regular basis, and it was so unsettling that one of his teachers would apparently have a nervous breakdown in response, forcing her to quit. The teacher would later explain, I was terribly affected by these happenings in my class. I decided before I lost my mind completely, I should resign. I remember how the chain of events made Cornelio laugh and laugh. It was a hideous kind of laugh. It didn't belong to a boy. In fact, it didn't belong to a human being. Jeez. In every one of these instances, he would later claim that the strange little girl had come and taken his hand, a gesture he had been unable to resist, even though he knew what it meant and what it would lead to. When he made contact with her, he claimed that he was overcome with a strange sensation that he was no longer real, and that the world felt ethereal as if it were made of glass. Before blinking away, his school began to accuse him of skipping classes and desertion, but nothing anyone could do could keep him from these bizarre vanishing acts. Even more ominous than the disappearances themselves were the effects they sometimes had on others. At times, a horrific stench would be purportedly left, pervading the air in the wake of these vanishings, causing violent retching and vomiting in the startled classmates. Many times, Cornelio would be found later asleep in bed in his room a short time later, but sometimes he would be gone for days on end. He was always able to get back into his home regardless of whether the doors and windows were locked by his frightened family or not. When he returned, he would claim that the girl he was with had made him promise not to say anything about what had happened. For his part, Cornelio later explained that he began to live for these moments when the girl would come, mostly staring morosely at the wall, obsessively awaiting her return. Like an addict, some part of him needed this, even if he himself did not particularly understand why. During these strange absences, he claimed that the girl spoke to him a lot, but that he could later not recall much of what she had actually said. What he did recall was that being with her made him feel as if he were in a dream world where time stood still, and that he would somehow no longer feel real. He said that they would go all over town, floating up in the sky and descending to partake in a variety of pursuits, always appearing out of thin air and vanishing once again, just as mysteriously, often in front of many surprised witnesses. He would explain of these journeys, "There were many times when the girl and I would float around and go to many places in the city. We went many times to movie houses and visited the international fair that was being held in the city. When I was with her, I didn't feel exhausted or hungry." He also spoke of going to movies and restaurants only to vanish without paying, or even appearing and disappearing in front of people merely to see what they would do. In the meantime, Cornelio continued to exhibit brutish, violent behavior and began stealing money from home and arguing or fighting with people completely unprovoked. He would also revel in the deliberately misplacing items around the house, such as his father's reading glasses, slippers, and keys, and he would also teleport to the kitchen to eat everything in the fridge before teleporting back out. Jeez. There was also his uncontrollable urge to smash dishes and pretty much anything else that was around him. Wow. Cornelio's health began to deteriorate to the point that he would eat barely anything at all, and he devolved into a sullen, wraith-like visage of his former self. Cornelio's father had him brought to several psychiatric specialists, but everyone told him that there was nothing wrong with his son, even though Cornelio was often quite unruly during these visits. There was not much anyone could do about keeping him confined because he was still prone to disappearing and reappearing at a moment's notice. No walls could contain him. It was then that a Methodist pastor came forth to try to help the family through this rough time. Cornelio was, at the time of this visit, overcome with an irrational urge to flee. He would say, "I could hear evil laughter outside the house. It was the alien entity. It was the voice of the girl saying I should run away. The pastor told my father he knew someone who would help me, someone who had helped others. He said I needed help badly and that I had to be prayed for immediately. He told me the devil himself was in my body." The pastor informed the family that he believed the girl their son was seeing was actually a demon and referred them to an American evangelist working in the Philippines by the name of Lester Sumrall. Cornelio was brought to Sumrall's church and felt immediately uncomfortable there, as if he did not belong. He reported that it was during his stay there that he looked at his strange companion and noticed that she was no longer a pretty little girl, but rather a hideous abomination beyond description. Sumrall then spent some time praying for the boy, and after a time, Cornello claimed that he felt cleansed. After this, the girl demon, whatever it was, that had been teleporting him all over the place, did not appear to him again, and he was able to lead a somewhat normal life once more. The case of Cornello Closa is curious in that these events were well documented and were witnessed by many people and verified by many of those involved, yet no one can make any sense of it. So, how much longer is this? Wow, there's still a lot left. You want to take it again, Dan?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, we're at this point right here.
Yep. So far, we have looked at cases of teleportation that seem to have a rather supernatural and unexplained forces. But there are other cases that seem to stem possibly from actual man-made inventions, teleportation machines, if you will. One case has long drawn-out rumors of such machine is that of an engineer and inventor from the Isle of Wight by the name of William Cantello. In 1870s, he was well known for his many enigmatic inventions, which he kept on display at his shop on French Street in Southampton. And he would spend much of his time in a secret workshop located underground and connected via tunnels to a pub he owned called the Old Tower Inn. Indeed, it was claimed that Cantello would sometimes lock himself away in his workshop for weeks on end, heavily absorbed in some sort of mysterious research that could only be guessed at, although some people claim that he had a nifty gadget like strange light machines, humming globes, and unearthly weapons down there, along with who knew what else. The only thing we'd actually admit to was developing a fully automatic machine gun in the early 1880s. Everything else was a mystery punctuated by often strange noises that cannot be identified emanating from out of the darkness of the tunnel. But no one dared interrupt him when he was working or go down into the murk. At some point in late 1880, Cantello would enter his tunnel for one of his sessions and never come out. Although some people claim that he had merely taken a vacation, there were others who claimed that he had never exited that tunnel, but rather vanished in a hail of flashing lights and mist of darkness. Either way, Cantello was never heard from again. A thorough search was conducted for the missing inventor, but the only thing that could be turned up was that he had apparently withdrawn a healthy sum of money shortly before his disappearance, and a private investigator believed he had headed to the United States. But other than that, there was nothing. However, things would take a turn for the odd a year later. In 1881, an American inventor by the name of Hiram Maxim began making a name for himself in the UK. He showcased quite a few far-out inventions, including a fire sprinkler, a type of mousetrap, hair curling irons, and many other, with one of them being oddly a machine gun, very much like the one Cantello had been talking about shortly before vanishing, and which was called the Maxim gun. Hiram made some bold claims, to be sure, such as he had been experimenting with powered flight, that he had invented a light bulb, and most bizarre of all, that he had found a way to fashion a teleportation machine. Just as Hiram was getting into the public limelight, Cantello's two sons noticed that the American bore a striking resemblance to their father, and they even suspected that the two were one and the same. But Hiram would not meet them and claimed that he was only, and not only, let me back up, sorry, and claimed that he was not only was he from America rather than the Isle of Wight, but he was also in no way their father. Interestingly, the two sons claimed that the only immediate family would have known that they were from the Isle of Wight, as they had kept the information confidential from the public. Also curious was the fact that the plans for their father's machine gun looked strikingly similar to the Maxim gun. The sons became convinced that their father had found a way to truly teleport, and that he was making jumps back and forth across the Atlantic to lead a double life. It would have fit perfectly to all the claims and all the available information, but despite various pieces of circumstantial evidence, such as an admittedly similarity in physical appearance and some coincidences, there is currently no evidence to prove whether William Cantello, Hiram Maxim, whoever he was, actually achieved teleportation technology or not, or if the two are the same person. It's just a curious story all the same. To many, teleportation may seem to be still firmly in the realm of science fiction, yet for some, it's allegedly been a reality. What are we to make of these cases? Is there some chance that these people have managed to slip through some crack in our reality to somehow shift through space to instantly travel from one point to another? If so, how did they do it? What secrets did they know, or what powers or technology were they privy to that allowed them to transcend the borders of what we know? These are questions we will perhaps forever be doomed to ponder, but these stories and accounts provide much to speculate about and think on. If human teleportation were indeed achievable, it would change the civilization itself. It at least would have a large impact on those said to have actually done it. And that is the end of the story.
Wow. That was really a long article.
It was.
But cool. I mean, some great stories, I think.
Absolutely that. Yeah, I thought that was great. And great for Sarah to start us off on that way. It really...
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
It really did bring up some interesting, thoughts. The Cornelio, the disappearing boy, and how he, when he was finally being helped by the Methodist preacher, that the image of the young girl, turned to a basically what
creature.
would be a demonic creature.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of those really bring some thought to the process of, are there demons that could be doing this? In his case, in Lucy's case, though, just being able to spontaneously pop in and pop out, come back with weird flowers of, during winter times, summer flowers during winter, crazy.
Yeah, it is really crazy. It's pretty phenomenal, but I think, I don't know, I really think that reality is foldable, it's bendable, and whether through spiritual means or technological means or whatever, that it's possible to change the rules, and if you follow the religious narrative, then demons were angels at one time, right?
Right.
So they're fallen, and they're kind of turned into creatures of anger and hate or whatever, but they would still have all of the knowledge that angelic beings would have. So, I believe that angels can transcend space and time, and if you follow my narrative, I don't know. I mean, it's a however these beings are identified, we just we don't know, but very cool. Ow, did you hear that too?
Yeah,
that was right in my ear. Wow. Oh. Oh no, it's hold on, I gotta message someone. YouTube. It's on the YouTubes. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any other stories or things that you'd like to share, please let us know. Because this turned out to be a great segue. What the hell? I'm trying to paste. Where's the paste? Where's the paste, Don?
I ate it.
There it is. You ate the paste.
Yeah, it's made out of horse hose. Horses are good. I like horse. Japanese call it geet.
What? Horse?
Yes.
Oh, they eat horse?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard that horse is delicious. Have you ever eaten horse, Don?
Here to tell you.
Have you? Have you eaten horse?
Yeah, I have.
And is it good?
I wouldn't say no to a horse burger. Of course, I eat llamas too. You got to remember that. Don's the guy who eats.
Don is the carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
I fancy a good steak and all. And
if I can throw it on a barbecue, it'll go. Boop.
That's all kinds of disturbing.
Hey, Come on over for dinner sometime.
I've been there. What am I eating?
Remember I told you I had a serial killer freezer in my...
No,
it's huge.
I must have mentally blocked that. I must have not turned on the listening gene at that point, or turned it off quickly, whatever the case is. But at this point, I don't know. I don't think I want to know what I was eating, but it was tasty.
It was pork.
It was pork. Okay.
My favorite, of course, is the pork spare ribs.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Now remember, if the bones are slightly larger and rounder than larger and flat, that's a different kind of thing.
Oh, that's...
Beef ribs are long and flat.
Okay. I thought you were going full Ed Gein on me here, but
well, that's what I was saying. If they're round,
our ribs aren't round, or are they round? Or I don't know.
They're rounded compared to beef ribs.
Oh, okay. What about pork ribs? What are they?
Pork ribs are just good.
I don't know. I just chew on this stuff. I don't really pay attention. I really don't pay attention to what shape it is, and I'm just done. Whenever there's no more meat, it's like next. I don't know.
There were also claims from other nuns at the convent that Mary would sometimes vanish from her quarters, and that it was during these absences that she was described as being off with the Indians.
What are you reading?
It's another teleportation.
Oh, you found another
story? Yeah, same guy. It was this one was a year or 6 months before the last one we read.
Oh, well, what link is that? Is it a long one as well, or is it just one?
Go back up to Mysterious, where he talks about he's written other stories for Mysterious Universe.
Okay.
And it's right there at the bottom right.
Bottom right.
Right down.
Down.
Bottom, no, you missed it.
Here?
Right there, yes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I clicked it open, and it brought up another one by the same gentleman, Brent Swanser.
His name is Brent. He's a great writer, clearly.
He's a great writer. Obviously, he's a good guy.
Yeah, clearly. Now, are these none of them are repeats?
No, this is about a nun.
Oh.
This one's about...
it's quite long, too. Okay.
Hey, do you want to take a short break, though? It's 8:24.
It is. Wow. Well, is it really?
Yeah, we've been on for about an hour and 15 now.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, this is the portal. It is the portal. Okay, so I tell you what we're going to do here. We're going to take a break. Don't go away.
No, stay.
This is not an excuse for you to call it a night. You are hereby obligated to remain with us by penalty of something. I don't know.
I will. We'll ban you from the chat room in TFR.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't do that.
We certainly would. We wouldn't punish you. We'll not punish you, but we will go to break. Let me pull up some kind of music here.
Some kind
something
of music?
I wrote. I don't know. I'm gonna find it. I wasn't quite ready.
So we'll take a few minutes. We're having a good night, so that's kind of nice.
It is.
Everybody in the chat room, hang around.
Yes,
we
please
will be back. Apparently, we found some more stories.
Please stay with
teleportation kind of stuff.
Please don't go.
That was for you, Pixie.
That was for everybody. Everybody loves Homer, don't they?
No, I never really watched the dumb show.
Oh my God.
I don't watch those shows.
You're gonna be muted pretty quick here. I still reserve the right to mute.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna play this that I just wrote here. Okay, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go away.
Don't go away.
That would be rude at this point. All right, hang on there. See, told you we'd come back. We wouldn't leave you here all by yourselves, getting programmed by my subliminal messaging or anything.
Watch
that
the portal.
Watch
Tune
more
in.
portal. Demand more portal.
Send money.
Send money to Brent. I don't know. I could look into how to program things subliminally, but I think it's pretty much illegal, is what I understand.
No, not really. You can get away with it. I mean, the government does it every day.
No, that's that's probably true, I guess.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of that Suicidal Tendencies song from 1983. But anyhow.
I don't know. What is...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I can't. Because
no, I mean, tell me. What
it's a song by a band called Suicidal Tendencies called, it's Subliminal Messages. It's not the name of it, but close enough.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Brent Thomas, and this is Don Longbeard. I'm trying to get my hand in the right spot to do the Vanna White.
Whatever. Yes, Don is a hardcore Suicidal fan. That is actually true, yes.
Are you really?
Yeah, Suicidal is like one of the best bands in the world. Infectious Grooves, yeah, Infectious Grooves is good. Anything with Mike in it's good though. Anyhow, back on point.
Mike as in real phone or
no? Mike. What Mikey's last name?
Oh, okay.
Mike. Psycho Myco.
Hey, before we go into how do I change this to dark like yours? I like yours.
Oh, somewhere in the settings. I think it's over here.
Here.
Yeah. So click that. Nope. I'll go to the. Oh hell, I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, dang, I don't know.
I don't know either. I just want it to look like yours does. Is that over here?
I'm just cool. I'm just cool like that.
No, I like that darker. I hate this bright white screen.
YouTube apps search.
Subscriptions. Browse channels. YouTube. What?
Settings. Go down to settings.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna minimize that. Hold on. Browse all channels. Where's settings?
Keep going. Scroll down.
There's nothing more. That's it. That's like the bottom of my deal. Don's YouTube looks all
be
dark and cool, and mine's
cool.
all like white and shrill to my eyes.
Shrill.
I like darkness better. I really do. I know that sounds weird, but honestly, I do. I find darkness relaxing, and I find I love sunny days and all that. Don't get me wrong, but
it's like you can relax and
right.
For me, it's relaxing to be in darkness.
Right, exactly.
And my fangs don't stick out as often.
No, your wolf fangs.
Hey, Sarah just joined us in the chat room. I wanted to say hi, Sarah, and thanks for sending us that story, because we've been reading stories about spontaneous human teleportation. So now you get to hear a couple.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for turning us onto that storyline, because we were just going to do alien stuff because Doc just continually whines about it. So
he's a whiner.
Doc's just whining about it all the time.
Well, see what happens when I click on my picture over here? When I click on my picture, it brings up all this information and dark theme right there. So it's I don't know why yours isn't set up like that.
Are you right clicking or left clicking?
No, I'm just left clicking right there on that picture. Maybe I'm just special. Do the settings right? No, over there. That.
Oh, YouTube settings.
Yeah, try that.
All right, I'm trying it. I just left the stream. Account overview, privacy, notifications, playback. Okay, that didn't work.
That didn't work.
Okay, never mind. Going back.
You're just a weirdo. Okay.
I'm just confused.
Stacy, hi Stacy. Hi Stacy.
Holy.
I only tagged her like an hour and a half ago.
Don's doing roll call here.
Roll call.
Wow.
Nice. All right. So anyhow,
here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're going through stories of apparently teleportations of people.
Crazy.
This has been a great theme for the regular show too. On TFR.
We could have waited, but you dove right into that one. It's like
I didn't know it was going to spiderweb into all
great,
this.
Though.
It has. It's really good, really cool stories, and I love the concept of these things, that we have this untapped potential within us.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, even if it is demonic, let's say for instance it is demonic, excuse me, the introduction of some other entity doesn't create things within you, you know, that if people, even if like say it's a demonic catalyst that creates the event, the person still is showing that they can survive the event and be pretty much unfazed. And in the case of that inmate guy,
Haddad, yeah.
yeah, he was, all over the place and able to fake, his death with the catatonic trance or whatever, and create zodiac glyphs on his body, phase in and out of places. If he is truly able to control all of that, then, it shows that there's that potential within us that can be turned on somehow. So I love that idea. I love that we don't have us figured out yet. And I know that in like the medical sciences and stuff, we're still learning, and all kinds of ways we're still learning what the human potential is. Like even for instance, the parkour practitioners, they're doing things that before people didn't think that our bodies could sustain those kind of drops and stuff, that they were sure that it would shatter ankles and stuff. And these kids are doing it all the time and, are absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And adults, so it shows that we have no true understanding of the full potential and ability that we have inside. And there are many stories of people under, extreme duress doing things like lifting cars.
Lifting cars, like the mothers lifting cars off their babies and things like that.
I mean, so they're, and that's, for some reason, they're able to bypass whatever is blocking normal people from doing that. And they're able to get to this whole different level. And so what are we actually capable of? It would just be phenomenal to see us realize our true potential. And I think that these stories, at the very least, could be glimpses into whatever the full potential reality that we have.
Right.
So I love these kind of stories. Wow. These are the kind of things that I just totally, can't get enough of. So the next page, of course, that Don discovered is Bizarre Cases of Mysterious Teleporting People. And this is, again, by Brent Swanser. And this is on mysteriousuniverse.org. Phenomenal articles. This guy did a great job.
Great writer.
Yeah, he's really thorough as hell. And so let's get into these and see what we got. All right, so we got to read the whole narrative. So, teleportation to move over vast distances within the blink of an eye has captured our imagination and remained a fixture of science fiction stories for years. That was all one breath, ladies and gentlemen. Moving from one place to another instantaneously has an irresistible allure to it. It indeed has moved out past the boundaries of fiction to be seriously pursued by science in recent years. Yet there are those out there who have already somehow achieved this amazing feat through means beyond our current understanding. Or is that, it was a question. Oh, it says, yet are there? Okay, so if some truly bizarre and mind-bending reports are to be believed, the answer to this question would be yes. These are cases that in some form or another seem to suggest the possibility that human teleportation may not only be possible, but has already occurred, be it through interdimensional portals, mysterious doorways, through perhaps the fabric of reality itself, somehow bending the rules of physics as we know them, or through some other strange force that we cannot even begin to fathom. Stories of people mysteriously teleporting go back surprisingly far back into history and continue right up into the modern day. Some of the earliest accounts appear to have a rather folkloric or religious quality to them, but are intriguing nevertheless. In the Bible, there are many references to people traveling vast distances instantaneously, often said to be swiftly carried along by angels. And there are other early accounts of teleportation, such as the first century philosopher and physician Apollonius of Tyana, who is said to teleport over great distances to treat the victims of a plague. Wow. In the 17th century, there were several such cases. Excuse me. One such case was written of in the 1692 book on Scottish fairies called The Secret Comnion Wealth by Reverend Robert Kirk, which mentions a man who seemed to have the ability to teleport over short distances. One passage explains the phenomenon thus. His neighbors often perceived this man to disappear at a certain place, and about 1 hour after to become visible and discover himself near a bow shot from the first place. It was in that place where he became invisible, said he, that the subterraneans, or fairies, did encounter and combat with him. I don't even know what the hell that just said, but I don't know if he's fighting with fairies or if they're helping him. What does that mean? I don't even know. I don't know the old tongue. I've forgotten. I don't know. There were also the story of a nun called the Venerable Mary Jesus of Agreda, who between 1620 and 1631, maybe it was Jesus, I don't know if it's pronounced, but 1620 and 1631 was claimed to have been made over 500 teleportations from her convent in Spain all the way over to New Mexico.
Wow.
In the New World, an entire ocean away, for the purpose of converting the region's Jumano Indians. At first, these claims were met with skepticism by the Catholic Church, which called her delusional, but missionaries to the New World, as well as the Indians themselves, gave testimony that seemed to substantiate the fantastical claims. For instance, in 1622, a New World missionary named Father Alonso de Benavides wrote a letter to both Pope Urban VIII and Philip IV of Spain, claiming that someone had already been actively converting the Jumano Indians since long before he had even arrived. When the Indians were asked where they had learned about Christianity, they claimed that it had been shown to them by a European lady in blue, and that this mysterious woman had given them crucifixes and a chalice that appeared to have come from Mary's convent. Wow. At the time, Benavides knew nothing of the claims that Mary could allegedly teleport back and forth over the ocean, and he would not hear these stories until he returned to Spain. So fascinated was he by the accounts that he personally interviewed Mary and supposedly found her to be quite sincere, as well as demonstrating an intimate, detailed knowledge of the Jumano Indians and the area where they lived, far beyond what she could have possibly studied through books alone. Mary had apparently kept a diary of her mysterious jumps to the New World, but had burnt it at the urging of the church and out of fear of being labeled a witch.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, logs kept by various other missionaries, conquistadors, and explorers in the New World proved to agree with and sync up very well with to when Mary claimed to have made her visits and what she had worn there, as well as the activities she had engaged in. There were also claims from other nuns that the convent that Mary would sometimes vanish from, her quarters, and that it was during these absences that she was described as being off with the Indians. There were also accounts by other disparate tribes vast distances away that gave reports of a similar mysterious European woman, and which were nearly identical despite these tribes sometimes being thousands of miles apart. This all seemed to lend some weight to the amazing story, and it was also unlikely that Mary would be intentionally making it all up, as she had once almost been tried as a witch as a young girl, and so was wary of admitting to her strange experiences, at times even seeming to outright deny them. Nevertheless, Benavides claims that he had seen proof without doubt that Mary was indeed able to make these mysterious journeys. At the time, Benavides' account of Mary Jesus de Agreda became famous all over his country, and the case would become widely debated over the ensuing years. Did Mary Jesus de Agreda have the ability to somehow instantly jump over the ocean and hop all about the New World through teleportation, or is this all just religious myth and hysterics? No matter what the answer may be, it is a remarkable historical account to be sure. Many early reports of teleportation seem to be inextricably linked with witchcraft or poltergeist activity. In 1661, a woman from Cork named Florence Newton was tried and accused of being a witch. It was claimed that Newton was prone to having violent episodes of demonic possession in which she would vomit all manner of strange objects such as wool or even pins, and would exhibit supernatural strength, easily hurling large men about like dolls. She would also allegedly be constantly barraged by stones that seemed to materialize from nowhere, only to vanish once again after pelting her. Wow, that would suck. Perhaps her most bizarre ability was teleportation. And Newton was claimed to often disappear from a room only to reappear moments later in another room or even on the roof within a locked chest. That's strange. Poltergeists make an appearance in a variety of reports as well. In 1722, a farmer family in the small village of Sandfeld, East Germany, was terrorized by a poltergeist that routinely tripped the children and picked them up to hang them in midair.
Nice.
Nice, yeah. The children also sometimes vanished into thin air, only to mysteriously appear in a totally different area moments later or sometimes several hours later. The case was apparently quite well documented, and there was also the case of a man named Richard Giles of Bristol in the United Kingdom, whose children were menaced by a sinister entity that would push, shove, bite, scratch, and throw rocks at them, as well as whisk them away without a trace, only to dump them in another location out of nowhere. Interestingly, although onlookers claimed that the children would simply disappear into thin air and reappear, for the kids themselves it was decidedly more frightening affair, with one of the children saying that she had been carried by a witch dressed in ragged clothes who had held an odoriferous skeletal hand over her mouth as she carried her along. These eerie early stories may be very heavily influenced by myth, religion, fear, or exaggeration, but it shows how far back these ideas go, how persistent they are, and cases of teleportation have continued on in the years beyond. On June 3rd, 1871, there was a bizarre incident where a London psychic, simply known as Mrs. Guppy, allegedly spontaneously teleported from her home in Highbury, England, to land in the middle of a seance being conducted at a home around 3 miles away. Strangely, almost comically, Mrs. Guppy was reported as appearing out of thin air wearing nothing but her underwear.
Wow. Strangely and disturbingly.
It must have been a ghastly affair.
A poltergeistly affair?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Hey. In 1901, the Parisian family moved into the house in Ruvo, Italy, and shortly after began to experience a wide range of mysterious phenomena. Among the various instances of assorted poltergeist activity reported from their home was the unsettling habit for their 7-year-old son, Alfredo Panzini, to fall into deep trances and come back with visions of the future.
Wow.
And not long after this began, he apparently started to demonstrate the ability to abruptly teleport from place to place. Wow. During these odd episodes, it was reported that Alfredo would vanish suddenly from his house, often in full view of others, only to reappear moments later at another location in town. You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay. Often dazed and confused by the whole incident, Alfredo's brother Paolo also began to spontaneously teleport from time to time. That's kind of cool. And on one occasion, both of the brothers suddenly vanished from their rooms, only to appear aboard a fishing boat located miles out to sea off the port of Balada.
Wow.
That is crazy. These strange episodes of teleportation were investigated by a medical advisor to Popes Leo XIII and Pius X, named Joseph Laponi, who set up an experiment to test the claims. He purposely locked the boys in their room and sealed off all possible escape routes, including windows and other doors within the house. Yet even then, the boys vanished and reappeared instantaneously several miles away, right under everyone's noses. The mysterious teleportations allegedly lasted for several years until the boys reached puberty and apparently lost the ability. Oh, that would suck. Wow, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being able to do that and all of a sudden, I can't anymore, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry, I was told to stop that and grow up.
Yeah. My dad said to put away childish things.
Gosh.
So now I shave instead.
Oh, jeez. That would really suck. You know, you grow up, literally. It says mysteriously the teleportation's lasted until the boys reach puberty. That would just suck. I mean, and that's the time you'd want to use, teleportation.
That's when it might come in handy.
Why don't you go out and do something? Okay, click, gone. See ya.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a couple hours. I'm going fishing off the coast over here.
I'm going to go to the Bahamas. See you guys. No passport necessary. Just boom, gone. I like it. Strange tales of teleportation continue well into the 20th century. In the late 1920s, the family of Dr. Kitar of Poona, Poona, India, experienced some rather odd events. Kitar's two adopted sons started making claims that they had been quite startled to suddenly appear in different locations, including within locked cars or locked sheds. One such episode was witnessed by Mrs. Kitar herself when her oldest son suddenly materialized in front of her one day and claimed that he had just come from faraway town of Karjat. Mrs. Kitar would explain that her son had been levitating over the floor when he appeared, and he had been in a position as if being carried by some large invisible hand before being gently placed upon the floor by an unseen force. In December of 1952, the well-known mystic Wellesley Tudor Pole claimed that he had been caught in rather foul rainy weather right after arriving on a late train and found himself without any available taxis or other means of transportation open to him to return to his home in Sussex after his tiring trip. Adding to his woes was the fact that the station payphone was out of order, which conspired with his other obstacles to create a frustrating situation, in which it seemed he was doomed to spend the night at the station in the rain, even though he had an important call he had meant to take at his home. Pohl claimed that he sat down and compared his watch to the station clock, both of which read 5:57 p.m. What happened next remains unclear, but Pohl claims that he suddenly and confusingly found himself standing in the hall of his home, and additionally his clothes were not wet, nor were his shoes covered in mud, meaning that he had not been out slogging about in the rain. Just as he arrived, the clock struck 6 p.m., so in 3 minutes, meaning that it was impossible that he could have traveled the distance to his home without getting wet in only 2 minutes. Pohl speculated that he had somehow inadvertently teleported himself home, although he had no idea how or why.
Wow.
That's really cool. You sound just so miserable. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, do you want me to read the next piece?
Sure, go ahead.
In 1956, a man by the name of Thomas R. Kessel seemed to appear out of nowhere on a busy street in New York City. He explained that his last memory had been leaving a bar in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the next thing he knew, he had been wandering down the street in New York. Considering that the man had no passport and could not have traveled into the country otherwise, it was unclear how he could have ended up there, and the case remains a mystery. He would claim that he had no memory of what had transpired between him leaving the tavern and reappearing an ocean away.
Wow.
Well, you leave a tavern, I end up anywhere. A very well-known and controversial account of human teleportation supposedly occurred in 1968 when Dr. Geraldo Vidal, and his wife, Rafa Vidal, apparently teleported a great distance along with his whole car. In May of 1968, the couple was reportedly driving their Peugeot 403 along a remote rural route in Chamascas province of Buenos Aires, Argentina, when they claimed that they were suddenly enveloped by a thick fog and thoroughly ensconced them. The Vidals would allegedly not make it to their destination on time and were concerned family members were waiting for them. A search of the road the Vidals had taken turned up no trace of them, baffling family and authorities at the time. 48 hours later, Geraldo Vidal phoned his family to tell them that they were safe, but inexplicably in Mexico City, a full 6,400 kilometers away.
Wow.
Vidal would later claim that he had no memory of what had happened in the 48 hours. That's a long way to drive in 48 hours.
Yeah. That they had been gone.
Yeah, that they had been gone, and only knew that they had encountered a strange heavy fog, after which everything had gone black. When they regained consciousness, they found themselves parked along a road that they had never seen before. Both complained that at the time they had a pain in their necks and felt as if they had been sleeping too long. When they had stepped out of the car, their vehicle appeared to have been burned, as if badly damaged by a blowtorch. Despite the damage, the car still worked, and the confused couple had driven off down the road. and after asking several passerbys where they were, quickly ascertained that they were in Mexico, far from where they had originally been last they remembered.
Wow.
Ominously, the Argentinian consulate in Mexico City was apparently extremely adamant that the couple remain quiet about what they think happened. And there was a sense that the whole case was being quieted and covered up. Additionally, the couple was quickly given a replacement vehicle even as their own battered car was shipped away to apparently be studied. Despite the order to remain silent on the mysterious event that had transpired, it was not long at all before various news agencies were reporting on the bizarre case, including numerous newspapers, TV news, and radio shows. Weeks after the sudden media blitz, a cloak of silence was instigated. All news outlets were suddenly and inexplicably forcefully banned from covering the story, and they were denied further access to the information or those involved. In the years after the alleged strange event, the Vidals were said to have had nervous breakdowns due to the bizarre events, and they had events that they had undergone, and some sources have even claimed that they both mysteriously died of leukemia. That's one of those connected to alien diseases.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
The case eventually became one of the weirdest, most baffling, and most talked about cases within the realm of ufology and Forteania, and was written of in countless articles and publications. The Vidal case had been intensely debated and picked apart, and is filled with so many conflicting facts that the reports that it's hard to ascertain where the truth ends and the possible exaggeration and misinformation begins. There have been many theories as to what transpired, such as that this was a case of spontaneous transportation or a UFO abduction. A more skeptical approach has been taken by the Argentinian journalist and researcher Alejandro C. Agostinatelli, who thinks that the whole story was a hoax to promote a science fiction movie released only 2 months after the alleged event, called Che Ovini. The movie was released to critical derision, failure, and quickly forgotten. Wow. But not only does Agostinelli claimed that the film's director, Anibal Yusit, admitted the sham in 1996 interview, but the plot of the film also mirrors the Vidal case pretty closely, focusing a great deal on UFO abduction and teleportation. There was also a fact that most of the case was based on hearsay and rumor, with very little concrete evidence to corroborate any of the depicted events of the case having ever actually happened, essentially propelling it into the status of urban legend.
Wow.
Despite the accusation that the whole Vidal case was a hoax and a fraud to drum up publicity for a movie, things were apparently pretty bizarre throughout, with Yuset often coming across people saying that they had known the Vidals and alarming him with the way the case was so widely believed and had achieved such popular iconic status. It got to the point where Yuset started to get paranoid with all the strangeness floating about the story and to doubt his grasp on reality, saying, "So many people approached me to say that they had known the Vidals that I began to have doubts. What is more, the confusion was such that I began to think that our story coincided with something that had really happened." This strange confession makes the whole thing even more bizarre and gives it almost a surreal spin. If Yuset really was behind orchestrating the whole Vidal case, which had been hotly discussed and picked apart to no end, then why should he be so surprised and express doubt that it was a hoax that he had in fact created? What was going on here? Ostagnelli would later remark on this peculiar detail and the whole phenomena of such stories in general thus: "At the time, the fact he questioned his own creation startled me, but I think that helps to understand how UFO stories are built along with many other modern myths. Even if a hoaxer can be led to doubt, this means that the mysteries are able to overcome any denial. That's why I think mysteries are indestructible. Countless teleportation cases have occurred in Argentina and around the world, but the Vidal case was a lie. There was no concrete evidence to prove without a doubt that the Vidal case was a hoax for promoting the film. And there were indeed other conspiracy theories floating around about as well. But neither is there any to show that it ever existed beyond rumor and spooky lore. There continues to be a good amount of debate and controversy surrounding the Vidal case, and it seems that it still has not been satisfactorily resolved to a great many people. At times, the case of teleportation involved what seems to be passing through doors, only rather moving to another room of the house, these doorways transport us through space and perhaps even time to move us to another faraway location altogether. In 1971, Al Kessig claimed that he had uncovered several doorways or vortices to some sort in the U.S. states of Missouri and Arkansas, which allowed for instantaneous teleportation from place to place via travel through other dimension. According to Kessig, one could walk through these doorways and instantaneously end up miles away from where they had entered. He explained about these doorways and their varied strangeness. Each door is different, but my belief is that if one could recognize these door openings, one could pick the door in Arkansas that would permit me to step into your front yard in Iowa. Okay. I have entered these doorways while driving and saved myself hundreds of miles of driving. Unfortunately, the reverse has also happened to me. Some of these doors to other dimensions open up like an elevator door with no elevator there to step into. Others open into a land of no life. Some take you back into the past, some take you into the future on this world. Then there are the doors that open into chambers that send the body to a distant star. Wow.
Wow. That would be a Stargate.
Yeah. Can you take over from there?
Yep, absolutely. What does this all mean? Is there anything to do with this oddness? Or is this just the ramblings of a seriously disturbed or delusional individual? It is hard to say for sure. Even more recent is the case of a homeless boy in the Ivory Coast of Africa, who was discovered by a Fortean researcher, Ion Alexis Will, in August of 1993. As Will was passing through a rural area called Yamoussoukro, it's Yamoussoukro, Yamoussoukro. He came across a Catholic church called the St. Augustine, where the priests there complained of a 9-year-old boy who had an unsettling habit of disappearing from his locked quarters only to reappear in strange places, such as within locked cars or other areas where he had absolutely no business being. On another occasion, the boy had vanished into thin air in front of many startled witnesses as he ate breakfast, only to be found in a dazed and confused state some distance outside of the church. An investigation into the strange boy's background found that he had been originally found in a town about 155 miles away in a trance-like state. Further investigating would turn up even more bizarreness. The boy, whose actual name was Ndua Kuname Serge, I'm guessing that was his name, had vanished under strange circumstances when he was just 5 years old, vanishing from a hospital in Tiasale in Ivory Coast, only to suddenly and inexplicably end up in San Pedro, in a full 200 miles away. The boy's father had gone to pick him up, only for him to vanish and reappear again 410 miles away. Oh, God. I'd be pissed if I was his dad.
No doubt.
In confused state in a town called Odien. He would go on to make several other spontaneous jumps to various other cities around the country, often spending months or even years in each far-flung location, during which time some of his benefactors would come to the conclusion that he was possessed by an evil spirit which could teleport him, When asked by a reporter on how he could suddenly jump from place to place so rapidly, the boy himself reportedly said, "I don't know, I'm here, and then suddenly I found myself in another town." Oh, that would be rough. Even more recent is the series of strange teleportations that were reported in a 2009 article in Pravda Report entitled "Lightning Can Open Doors to Parallel Worlds." In one report, a UFO researcher named Tatiana Feministia allegedly teleported 2 times, during which she claimed that she could not feel anything during the process, but would simply wake up in another place. A woman named Lydia Nakoleva, from Novi Bite village in Russia, claimed that she had been out picking mushrooms when she felt a stabbing pain in her chest. When she came to her senses, she found herself deposited in an abandoned church around 3.3 miles from where she had been. Just what is going on here? Do these people have access to powers or abilities that remain hidden to the common masses? What are we to make of such cases as these? Are these merely hallucinations or flights of fancy, or is there something more at work here that is worth pursuing in an effort to understand it? If these individuals have somehow pressed through some barrier to jump from one place to another, then how have they done it? How can it be possible, and how can such a thing fit into the universe as we understand it? Even as science pursues the very real concepts and theories of how teleportation may someday actually be possible, the reality of real teleportation of a human being remains far out in the outer fringes of the scientific horizon. Yet for some mysterious individuals, it may be closer than we think.
Wow.
Excellent. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Let's see if I can find another link somewhere.
Well, we're at 9 o'clock.
No,
How
I
late
don't
do you
see
want to
that.
go, brother?
Oh, you know what? I'm good. I was just joking, but I would like to find maybe something else. I think this is as far back as these ones go, though, because all the first ones we read, the newer ones, link back to these other ones. So I don't find a link in here. So
Right.
dang, that kind of sucks. We'll have to. I'll have to do some research on this guy.
Yeah, it's on the at least on the phenomena.
Yeah, definitely.
And is it supernatural? Is it more UFO? Is it what is the connection there? Because it seems to be
it's all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very strange, but it might have something to do with the the hospital patient who teleported into a ceiling after surgery
Crazy,
and died. Poor guy. It's like, oh man, I know what it's like to go through a surgery. It's horrible, and you wake up in such a shattered state. And then what would you do if you found yourself stuck in a ceiling?
Apparently, he couldn't do much.
Right. It was an area under construction.
Yeah.
It was not someplace he could even try to get help because it was a construction area. So I don't know. That's rough, man. I feel bad for that guy. But that was his end right there.
Wow. So this guy wrote an article for November 3rd of 2017. So this is last week. It's called Bigfoot and the Bizarre Vanishing.
Oh.
This is that Brent Swanser.
Yeah, he's quite an author. But maybe bookmark that, and we'll
yeah, definitely
look into that for this weekend, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teleportations. That's right. That's what we're discussing. That's what we have been discussing. But ladies and gentlemen, we did pretty much a full 2-hour shot here.
Yeah.
And it was flawless. It was absolutely flawless. I'm just thrilled beyond recognition. I don't expect for things to work out so well here on the portal. So when they do, it's really exciting.
It is. It's been a good while. So good. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have too.
Yes,
I'm really sorry you're not feeling real well, but
no, that's no big deal.
I appreciate you taking one for the team and giving it the old college try or whatever.
Jeez.
whatever the words for that are. But
been out of college for 17 years already.
Oh
God, I'm old.
Well, it's let's just call it experience. You're just experienced.
Yes, I'm well experienced.
You are. And nice job reading tonight, by the way.
Thank
you. You did wonderful.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that I believe is the portal. Unless you guys in the chat room have anything to add or would like to see something else happen. That's
too bad we can't do a call in. We haven't figured it out yet, at least.
Well, I mean, I certainly don't want to set up a Skype channel just for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
we
doubt.
could, but it would just be And the problem with Skype is when people call in, it's absolutely noisy. It's like,
Well, Google has a number. You
Do
can
they?
be assigned Google numbers too. So,
do they?
and that isn't YouTube
It's
associated with Google?
It is. In fact, Google is apparently the biggest search engine in the world, and the second biggest search engine is YouTube. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And it is. It's not Yahoo or Bing. It's YouTube.
We'll go figure that one.
Yeah, go figure that one.
When you own half of the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Could you imagine going back into the 80s and buying Google stock?
Oh, God.
Or Bitcoin? Oh, my God.
Bitcoin. Oh, that would be the one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Bitcoin. Wow.
Apparently, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks fame, he couldn't get any bank to work with him, so he in 2010 he bought a bunch of Bitcoin, and now he's like I don't know, he got like 500% growth on his investment.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's just amazing. So he's like, thank you guys for not being willing to work with us, because they made out like bandits for sure. And it just goes to show you,
didn't I?
Yeah, it just goes to show you the truth is meant to rise.
Yep, that is true.
And so,
well, there you have it.
Well,
A successful 2 area.
I'm not done yet, Don.
Oh, you're not done?
I thought you'd sing.
Sing? Holy crap, now he wants me to sing.
No, I honestly don't. But
Oh, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't want you to hurt your voice more, or my ears,
Or your ears.
or my will to continue.
My will to not pull my ears out and gouge my eyes.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Oh, jeez.
It's let me see.
No, Pixie, I'm not singing.
Don, will you sing for us, please?
This is the song that never ends.
Oh, dear.
It goes on and on, my friends. Some people started singing and not knowing what it was, and we'll continue singing it forever just because it's the song.
It does end, as a matter of fact. It ended right there. It was amazing. That's the song that definitely ends. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you, Lamb Chop.
you better refer to me as pork chop.
Pork chop.
I ain't no lamb
chop.
chop. You know what I'm saying?
We're getting back to ribs. Is that what that is?
That's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah. So
I got 3 racks in my freezer.
that's right, ladies and gentlemen,
Uh-oh.
and that's the heartbeat. That's what's bringing us home. So thank you all for being here, and please spread the word. Share this stream once we get it all linked up.
Absolutely.
We love you all so much. I just can't tell you how much. I probably love you too much, as a matter of fact. And it's
Well, when you Jones to get back to your audience.
that's it.
Yep.
Can't wait to get out there for you guys. We love you. Take care. Have a great night, and we'll see you on Friday's show.
Joining us. See you then.
Paranormal Portal. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
She makes me feel I've lost all control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me.
We're still here.
Controlling everything that I do. She's over me. She's over me. Feline with the claws in my heart. I can't let Sure